Coming at you live from all over Ohio. A Cleveland Browns podcast full of laughs, rants, fun, and stats. A place where all Browns fans' voices are welcome and heard. A show that aims to inform and entertain you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Barking Browns Show.
Happy Tuesday to y'all out there in the wonderful land that you're in somewhere, wherever you are. Welcome in to episode 106 of the Barking Browns Show. Yeah, right. I'm Jacob. That's Nick. Welcome. We appreciate all of you. We're brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Homage Apparel. We got the Joe Thomas. We'll be celebrating Joe Thomas very, very soon. We got the NFL Jam. I got the Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb NFL Jam. If you're watching this live, just go over to their website, homage.com. If you're watching this or listening to it, there is a link. If you're not watching this live or you're listening to it afterwards, there's a link down in the description below. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. Please hit that subscribe button. Gives us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. If you're listening in your ear holes on Apple, please rate the show. Give us a review. Same thing on Spotify. If you can do that, that'd be totally tits. And if you want to support the channel and get access to our Discord and a bunch of other things coming up, you can join the channel for $2.99 a month. It's a little button on the YouTube channel right next to the subscribe button. And then one last housekeeping, we'll get into this thing real quick. I have started this year's charity fundraiser. We are raising money for Project Sanctuary, which aims to heal all military families. It works together not just with the veterans, but with their families, teaching them communication skills and other things to deal with some of the hardships that they've experienced, and really brings them together, find a way to heal. And for every $50 we raise, I will get shot with a paintball without a shirt on. We're at 4 shots already. So we have 4 shots. We have $200 of our $800 goal, or our $1,000 goal. I'll get shot up to 20 times. I'm going to put a link in the comments right now if you're watching this live, but if you're listening to this afterwards or watching it afterwards, it's in the description down below.
And speaking of being a member, we've already got a couple of them in here. We've got Josh. Look at that fun little logo there. Your name is green. Hey, Josh, how you doing? We've got, speaking of our other friend, Mitch Metz, coming back. Appearance. Hello. We missed you, Mitch.
What's up, man? How are you?
We've got Drew here. We've got MC here. Everybody's here tonight. All the regulars. You guys were ready. You were on the ball. It means so much that it's like Tuesday night, and we know you guys like Drew, MC, Josh, Mitch. You guys are always here, and it means a ton to us, man. So thank you guys. We're in the middle of June, and you guys are here like you would be if the game just finished and we were doing a stream afterwards. I can't tell you what that means to us. So as we chug along here. We've got a lot we're talking about behind the scenes, but what we want to do and the type of content we want to bring you guys. So I'm excited to keep growing right along with you. Cause at this point, a lot of you guys have been with us since we're probably in single digit episodes. Yeah.
And you guys are sick and you have a problem.
I do too,
but we love you. Because you allow us to diverge our problems right back on you.
I just want to, Jacob, I don't know if you've said anything about your upcoming date. Do you want to share anything about that, about what we were just talking about pre-show?
Yeah, no. So my college a cappella choir and all of the alumni, we will be singing the national anthem at the Guardians the Guardians game on June 24th against the Brewers 410. So we'll be there.
My tickets, $19 a piece, no big deal.
And the national anthem, that'll be fun.
And I'll tell you what. So this is a true story. Jacob told us that he was singing the national anthem at the Guardians game, and I had no idea that Jacob had ever been involved in any a cappella ever. And Roger told me, and I thought like he was, because Roger likes jokes. And I really thought he was like pranking me. I don't know. I don't know why. I never knew. But Jacob, once he told me that, Jacob, you just have a voice. I feel like you would be a great singer. So I'm excited. I'm excited for a little Jacob and a little national anthem.
I appreciate it. I'm okay. That's it. It's background music. Anyway. assumed it'd be all right. You torture prisoners with it. So we'll get into it. I appreciate you guys. So we wanted to focus this week's conversation directly on the defensive tackle room. There's a lot of discussion going on with that room, good, bad, and ugly, and some things that happen. So we'll start with the news tidbit off the top, and there's some offensive stuff and logo stuff and a bunch of other stuff we'll get to on the back end, but we'll get into this. The meat and potatoes of tonight's discussion being on the defensive tackle room. So we'll go through there. We get the news last week of a couple of restructures. First, it was Harrison Bryant, and then all of a sudden the restructure of Jordan Elliott kind of happened, but nobody talked about it. Like, it just kind of happened. Everybody's like, hey, by the way, he did the same thing. And you were like, oh, okay. And it just kind of like slid under the radar for whatever reason, but it is what it is. So you see the restructures of Jordan Elliott and Harrison Bryant, which all but guarantees their roster spots. So what happened in those restructures? Like, why did they do it? All that good stuff. Jack Duffin can explain this much better than I can. But what I will say is they did the exact same thing last year with Dearness Johnson. So in Harrison Bryant's case, I can't remember what Jordan Elliott's actual number was, but in Harrison Bryant's case, his number was like 2.7 million, 2.7 or 2.8. It was nearly 3 million on the cap this coming year with zero guarantees. So it was a situation where it was like, he made a ton of sense for a lot of people, talking heads like myself, that said he makes a ton of sense that he potentially will be a cut candidate. And same with Jordan Elliott, because he has a similar contract, except he's actually making more because he was a higher draft pick than Harrison Bryant. And they're in the final year of their deal. And so they cut their number down. And in Harrison Bryant's case, he saved them around $1 million. I think it was actually like 992,000. But they cut the number down to get guaranteed money, which they had none on their contract. And the incentives, they've been incentivized, is like Harrison Bryant on his old contract was going to make around $3 million. If he hits all of these incentives, he'll make about $4 million. So he took less money on the cap to get some guarantees and more upside. Same thing happened with Jordan Elliott. I just don't particularly know we didn't get quite as many details on that. And maybe somebody has those details out there. And by all means, let me know if you're in the comments and you do know that. But they backed off the number, lowered the cap, freed up some more space. But it all but guarantees they make the roster, because now instead of cutting them and making money, they have guarantees and dead money. They didn't have dead money before with the non-guaranteed contract. So that's kind of where it does. It gives them this security, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And all but two players that I like Harrison Bryant, so I'm okay with him on the roster. I'm very angry about Jordan Elliott being locked up, and we're going to talk about that just in a second. But that is what happened on overall, Nick, before we dive into that, the just kind of the thoughts on both of those players that basically being locks.
It was a little bit surprising to me, because I did feel like these were two guys who were going to be competing for roster spots. But I like it in the fact that if you've already decided that they are going to both be on your roster, if you decided Jordan Elliott and Harrison Bryant, they're going to be on your roster, then okay, I can accept that, and let's save and either use or roll over as much cap space as we can. And I think this is another just little way that Andrew Berry's playing cap games, because I know that we like to say the cap is a myth and that Andrew Berry's a wizard. This is part of it, right? Because every dollar counts. And so regardless of if the Browns use it for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins this year, which is an option, right? Or if maybe a defensive tackle, which, I mean, with Jordan Elliott being guaranteed the roster, who knows? I see your.
But
yeah.
You're right.
But moreover, I just think you're going to need every dollar of cap space you can get moving forward. So if you can save yourself some now, and because you've already said you've already made the decision based on what we've seen in minicamp or whatever, that these are two guys that you're going to have on your roster, then I think it makes a ton of sense. I think at that point you're just being smart, and you're saying you're managing the cap the best way you can.
Yeah, and they're not guaranteed. They're technically not guaranteed, as a few people have pointed out online, and they're right. It's not fully guaranteed. It's not. If you cut a guy with a 1.7 million dead cap, you're not that. But Andrew Berry doesn't waste money. That's the thing. As I don't see him doing that. I want to check up real quick. MC wants to hear a solo. I will give you a personal solo. How about that? I will send you a DM of that later. We got Joey Edibles in
yeah, we sure do. Long time no see, Joey. How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing, Joey? Haven't talked to you in a little bit, actually. Drew excited that he's over there, and in the MC, you bring up the point. Maybe Elliott has something. Maybe Schwartz sees something in Elliott. Okay, that's where I want to start. We're going to start with Jordan Elliott, and we're going to work our way through this defensive tackle room. I've got most of their numbers and whatnot pulled up here so that we can go over that. I get this whole like, he's got this upside. Maybe they see something in him, this and that. But that's also what I've heard the last all 3 years, and especially the last 2 years after his rookie season. And listen, I was one of those guys. I said that stuff last year. He had a really, really nice training camp and a really nice preseason. Like, he had a good preseason. I put a bunch of Jordan Elliott highlights on Twitter because I thought he had a good preseason. And I was like, hey, man, we're actually going to be okay because Elliott's figured it out. And I didn't think he'd be a superstar, but I thought he would be at least an average player. I thought we were getting a player that could give you some quality snaps. What we ended up getting was a 40.4 PFF grade, 33 in run defense. He did have a 59 in pass rush. He played 351 pass rush snaps. He had 21 pressures and 2 sacks. Listen, you had half a sack the first 2 years combined, so I'll give you credit. You've upped the game in that sense. I can't keep banking on potential when I don't really feel like I've seen progress. I know that Elliott was better this year. I will give him that. In 2022, he was better than he was in 2021. He did have more, I think, a better setup around him in 2022, and that helped. And maybe Dalvin Tomlinson and Zadarius Smith and Ogbo Okoronkwo and all of that stuff going on can help elevate Jordan Elliott. But man, I just do not like getting him pushed on me year in and year out when I can't do it this year. I can't get behind it. I just see a player that he has no pass rush plan. Like, he has one move. If it doesn't work, he's done. And he's a total liability in the run defense.
And that's the biggest problem.
Jim Schwartz. But for now, I'm concerned if we are banking on him to play significant snaps.
That's my biggest problem is we have seen this defensive line just be unable to stop the run repeatedly year after year. And we have seen Jordan Elliott be a part of that problem year after year. And I remember sitting at training camp next to you saying, oh, hey, Jordan Elliott, he looks like he's playing pretty well, and it's harder to evaluate in camp, right? Because they're not really tackling it as much. But I think there definitely was promise in the preseason, and it just didn't translate. And on one hand, I really like giving chances to guys you've drafted, and you're giving. I mean, whatever happens with Jordan Elliott, when he's done in Cleveland, he can say to himself he had every chance possible to get this thing right, because I mean the Browns are giving it to you. I just, man, I know, and we're going to talk about the whole defensive tackle room, but it just feels like the Browns are one defensive tackle away from me saying I am really thrilled with this roster top to bottom. And it did surprise me a little bit because I just don't know how you could look at last year and look at the struggles and like, what is Jordan Elliott's role on this team, right? Like when you're saying, okay, we're going to guarantee you some money and it looks like you're more likely than not to make the roster. Let's just put it that way. Like ideally, what do you see Jordan Elliott being? He's a rotational tackle at that point?
I think he's your rotational 3 tech. Yeah.
Rotational 3. I don't have a lot of confidence in that. I just don't.
Yeah. And it was such an interesting situation. Like when you talked about the overall makeup of this defensive tackle room, and you're not alone in echoing the, like, I wish they'd bring in another one in, because I agreed really from the beginning, especially once I kind of realized it felt like Maurice, why did I just blank on his Hurst? Yeah, I don't know why I said Maurice, and then I was like, "What's his last name?" But when they brought him and Tristan Hill in, it kind of felt like, okay, I think they're going to wait, see what they get in the draft, and then go from there. But it felt like they were done on the free agent market because they brought in some of these guys that they've done it every year. You know, you had Malik McDowell a couple of years ago where you're bringing in this kind of lottery ticket. Last year you had Malik McDowell and Malik Jackson. Last year, of course, you bring in Perion Winfrey, who had some high talent, and you're trying to move some things around. You brought in Taven Bryan, who was a former first-round pick at the position, and you were trying to just kind of take some lottery tickets and piece some things together and just make it kind of work. Yeah. And I think that the group overall, with the top 2, was going to be good enough, much better, but good enough. And then Jordan Elliott goes in there, and I'm just not sure that's the way to go. And maybe he still doesn't make the roster. Maybe something happens and somebody really shows up, but it feels like they're locking in on this guy again, who has just been part of the problem. And that doesn't mean he can't get better. That doesn't mean Schwartz doesn't have a plan for him. Sure. God knows he knows more than I know. Yeah. But from the outside sitting in right now, I don't feel comfortable with him in the top 4 of the rotation, because they're probably only going to keep 4 again.
And that's as I'm looking, because I know we're going to play our roster projection game again, which I'm really looking forward to. That's become a Barking Brown show tradition. And so I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, you've got Dalvin Tomlinson. You just drafted Siaki Ika. I see that.
They're locks.
That feels good to me. Okay. Now we move over to the other defensive tackle spot. And so we're looking at Jordan Elliott, who, obviously we've just talked about a lot of questions there. Perion Winfrey, now he did just get cleared of some of his legal trouble, but obviously you had a dude who had a couple issues, disciplinary issues with the team. He got suspended there for a little bit.
Twice
as a rookie, right?
Yeah.
So and those are the 2 guys that you've drafted, right? And so I'm not feeling super thrilled with like if Jordan Elliott and Perion Winfrey and I'm hoping, right?
Don't forget about Tommy Togiai as one of their draft picks at the position too.
Yeah, I think at this point I'm spoiler alert, I'm not picking him to make the roster. That's where I'm at.
Tommy Togiai only makes a roster if there's injuries.
So yeah, and so maybe then you're looking at lottery ticket season, right? Because to Andrew Berry's credit, we did see it work one time. When you signed Malik Jackson and you signed Malik McDowell, we saw the veteran and the lottery ticket work. We've seen it work once. Mm-hmm. And since then, it just hasn't. So I saw our friend Brad Ward, post about a 4-minute long clip of Mo Hurst's highlights from 2018, which by the way, I forgot that he was a part of that defensive line that of the Raiders that played against the Browns in that epic Baker Mayfield's first start ever. And he got Baker in his clutches a couple of times that game, which was quite painful to reminisce on that one.
I did forget about that too until I was watching it the other day, and I was like, oh God. But I was like, why are you doing this to me, Brad?
Yeah. And so maybe Mo Hurst is that guy that, like, because if Andrew Berry hits on Hurst, I feel immediately better about the state of the defensive line. But it just feels like I don't like going into the season with could we have one guy next to Tomlinson that has a proven track record in the NFL? I'm not asking him to be a stellar or a world beater, just a veteran who has been there and been a reasonable contributor. That's all I'm asking for. And there's guys out there. Tyler's and you have been beating the Matt Ioannidis drum for a long time now. That's the thing that doesn't make sense to me. I don't know how on your whole defensive line, especially if you're only keeping 4 defensive tackles, that you can feel comfortable having purely question marks next to Tomlinson, because that is a scary situation to me. I know it's one position. I don't think it's going to make or break the entire season, but I have a lot of concerns about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting spot. You only need an average middle of the line and linebackers with how good the ends and secondary is. Yeah, I mean, and that's part of it. You've got all the investment at the more premium positions, but you did get kind of an admittance of an issue from Andrew Berry when he did sign Dalvin Tomlinson, in my mind, because he had never done that. He had given Malik Jackson the vet minimum or whatever he gave him, but he brought in some guys and signed some guys, but had never signed that kind of contract at that position. So you definitely saw kind of a little bit of a like, hey, we need to shift some of these philosophies this year.
This is a thought that just dawned on me, and I think it could have. I'll bounce it off you and see what you think. Could it be? So last year, the Browns offense was good, but not an offense that typically had any real type of leads. We really haven't seen the Browns offense put the defense in a position where they have a lead since 2020. Could it be that they are hedging their bets a little bit and saying teams are not going to run the ball against us as much this year because we believe our offense is going to be better. We believe we're going to have more leads. We believe our pass rush is going to be able to be more effective. And we're not going to have as many games as like the Atlanta game where they literally just ran the ball. What was that? Like 9 straight times. Is that a piece to this?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I thought last year. And of course, we had a ton of uncertainty with Watson's suspension or with it then getting added to, and all that. Just we didn't know where it was. But I had said that pretty loudly, like, hey, I'm not totally concerned in the sense that like these they're going to be a liability, but if the Browns put up the points that we think they can and should put up, can you actually keep up running the football? Can you, especially if you're getting behind late in the game, because that's where a lot of these running woes, I think, really were put kind of highlighted. They really got highlighted in late in these games where the Browns were trying to potentially come back, or it was a close game, and even they were behind in any manner, and they were trying to catch up and they weren't able to because teams were able to bleed the clock, and there were some ups and downs and some weird things with the offense, and it was totally weird. But that's what I said last year about this time, was like, I don't think this defensive tackle room being one of the worst in the league is what holds you from a Super Bowl if everything else goes well. You know what I mean? Like if all of this goes well, it's fine. Like that, if everything else is going fine, if the pass rush was last year was what it was supposed to be, then it was going to be fine. Like if you're throwing for 400 yards, you're not really that concerned about a team running for 150 on you. Like if you're doing it effectively and not turning the football over, it shouldn't be an issue. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great question. I think it's true. I think it's a factual situation where it's like, excuse me, if this goes the way it should, the way we expect it, the way it looks like it is from minicamp, and I know you got to put a bunch of salt, take lots of grains of salt when you look at that stuff. I understand all of that. But if you look at all that stuff, you can sit there and you say, you're throwing the ball all over the place. Are we that concerned about a team running up the middle, especially because you're improved? And it's like, and Joey says he's really high on Tomlinson. Yeah. Tomlinson's really good. Drew talks about letting Sheldon Richardson and Larry go. I mean, Larry's not been really that good. He's been okay. Sheldon Richardson has been okay since he left. But it did get worse when he let those things happen. So they're not world beaters, but they're definitely better than what they've got, or what they've had anyway. And I think the Tomlinson was kind of a makeup for the Richardson thing, I think.
Yeah.
Because they're very, very similar players. I think Tomlinson's a little bit better against the run and a little bit more well-balanced, but he does kind of remind you of Sheldon when the more I start saying that and I start thinking about it, I'm like, yeah,
were they teammates? Is that they're both were Vikings, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think they might have been. I don't know. I am really bad with like timelines and years. Gotcha. Trying to think back.
My glass half full take to put in summary of all of this is we have seen Myles Garrett and company be able to cover up for defensive deficiencies before when the offense helped them. So
2020. That's exactly what 2020 was.
Right. I mean, you were trotting Andrew Sandeo out there and no disrespect, friend, but I mean, that was the end of the line for him. And you made it work.
Yeah.
Because you were getting leads. You were getting leads and you were letting Myles Garrett go to work. And now, by all accounts, Zadarius Smith should be the best opposite defensive end that Myles has ever played with. So
he's definitely the most talented.
He's definitely the most talented. I'm hoping that, that Jadeveon Clowney year where he had 9.5 sacks was wonderful. And I had so much
apparition, apparently.
Yeah. So I'm hoping Zadarius has been more consistently productive. And the more I think about that, the more I think about the more excited I get. Because people are like, oh, well, he just put up sacks in the NFC North where the offensive lines are all bad. And I'm like, he started in Baltimore. He got paid in Green Bay because he was productive in Baltimore. It's not like he's never been people will find any way to discredit and discount. But
I don't give a shit about that. You know that. They want to move Zadarius inside a lot more. Yeah, and I think they want to put Alex Wright inside. I think that is a very interesting point, as I do truly believe that they want to put Alex Wright in there because they think he has some of those tools and the frame and the strength to play in there. And I'm intrigued by it because the best Alex Wright looked as a rookie, and they really did not want to play him the amount of snaps. The best he looked as a rookie was inside. I think a lot of his reps, his run defense on the outside was good, but it looked best in the inside. Drew asks, is there buzz about Kunasik? Man, is it Kunasik or is it? I think it's Kunasik.
I honestly don't know.
Jordan, I'm sorry. With Schwartz wearing his jersey, could he be a breakout candidate? So Schwartz wore his jersey because, and I wrote this up on Browns Wire. It was actually kind of a cool thing. But Schwartz wants to honor players that do things the right way. Guys that show up, do their job, they don't complain, and they work hard. So that's what that was he actually wanted to praise him and say, yeah, he's a very hardworking guy, does everything the right way. And he kind of wanted to celebrate it. And I think he's going to have an opportunity, man, because early on, I don't think Taki will start week 1. I don't think he'll be ready. So you could see him getting some snaps there. If Walker's not ready, I think Walker will be ready, but if he's not, he'll get some snaps there. And there's been some injuries with JOK, and I think he's a really good special teamer. I think Bobby Ventrone had a big part of making sure that Kunasik stayed in Cleveland this year, because I think he's a really good special teamer. But I think he could be a dark horse to have a good season because he's got the tools to do it. I don't know what I would consider a breakout for him, but could he be a solid contributor? Yeah, I think he could. I think we've seen some of that.
Joey asks us what hat size the panel is. This is just a normal hat. I just bought it from Browns camp, and I've had it since.
I don't know sizes of hats because, I got a really weird big head. I think mine was like an 8. Is that a thing? Is an 8 a thing?
I have no idea.
I always do the large, extra large one. When they have that one, I always do the large, extra large. But I like the ones that are adjustable because the other ones give me headaches because I'm a big goober looking mother. Anyway, I try not to say the F word on the show anymore. Drew, what's your gas mask size? That's actually a good point. I should go. I have one. Okay, there we go. So 8 is a thing. Joey says 8 is a size. We're good. We are good. We figured it out. But I will go check a hat in just a second because I'm actually curious what my one hat is. But I think it's 8 because I think I wore like 7 5/8 or something like that in my my Army cap. I could actually go look at that and tell you. Cool. Yeah, okay. That's all the questions over in those comments. So I want to make sure. So I want to move to Maurice Hurst. We're kind of making our way through this, and we might not get to all the players, but that's just how the show goes. Anyway, 7 3/4 and sailor hat, white hat for Drew. Okay, I think I got a slightly bigger head. I'm thinking 7 5/8, but I'm gonna find it out. We're gonna find it out on this show. That's why you tuned into this show. Anyway, Maurice Hurst is really interesting. So I was listening to Things I Think I Know About the Cleveland Browns, the crossover between Brad Ward and Jake Burns over at the OBR, and I was listening to it yesterday, and kind of some interesting things were brought up. As you said, Brad Ward had posted something on YouTube or Twitter, and I had looked at a lot of Maurice Hurst. So he doesn't play at all in 2022. I think he only played a couple of games in 21. Let me make sure. Yeah, he played 41 snaps in 21. So he had some injuries. My understanding is he pretty much took 22 off. I don't know how injured he was, if he tried and then got hurt, or if he was just trying to get his body right. But it sounds like he was more trying to get his body right in 22. If you go to 2018 is his rookie year, which is probably most people will probably consider his best year. He has 4 sacks. Oh, yeah. He has 4 sacks in the year, only 11 total pressures. That's a really good conversion. If you get 11 pressures and 4 of them are sacks, that's pretty cool. Like, so that's his numbers. 71 overall grade from PFF in 2018. In 2019, he actually gets a 77. No, 2019 is his best year. Sorry. In 2019, he gets a 77.8 pass rush. He has 38 pressures, 30 quarterback hurries, 4 sacks, and 10 stop tackles.
Wow.
And that's in 2019. And then the last year he really played was 2020, in which he had another 11 sacks or 11 pressures, 1 sack, and he only played 149 pass rush snaps that year. So when he's out there, this dude's fun. If you want to see like, oh, if the Browns get best case scenario with Maurice Hurst, like, what's his best case scenario? Go look at 2018 and 2019 with the Raiders, and you're going to see a guy that had 8 sacks in that time and what, like 50 quarterback pressures over those 2 years. And for a defensive tackle, man, if you're telling me I can get 4 sacks from him, and Tomlinson usually hovers around 4 sacks, you get 10 from Za'Darius, 16 from Miles, Okoronkwo probably throws in 7. We're starting to have a really fun conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. That is if absolutely good, everything goes absolutely best case scenario. That's what that is. Yeah. But if you look at Maurice Hurst, this dude he should not be able to move at 290 plus pounds like he does. He has a really nice get off. He has violent hands, and he's stronger than you think he is. Now, I'm worried about Maurice Hurst more as a pass rusher. I'm more concerned about him as a pass rusher, not in the run defense, but he's not a liability in run defense. He anchors pretty well. He's not a one tech. He's never going to play nose and take on double teams. But as a complementary player, especially in pass rush situations with like Dalvin Tomlinson, or even if he's in there and Za'Darius Smith's not the other D tackle, whatever you want to do,
sure.
I think you can get really, really creative. If I'm right here right now talking about Maurice Hurst, and you tell me that he's healthy, and that's a big if. Yeah. He has played, 14 snaps since in the last 2 seasons. That's a big, big if. I get all of that. But if he's healthy, I think he's the final D tackle in this room. I think he gets DT4. I think he gets it over Perion Winfrey. We'll touch a little bit more on Perion Winfrey in just a second. And the only other person I think competes is they really like Tristan Hill, who they brought in as well. But if he's healthy, he definitely has the highest upside of all the other D tackles not named Ika, Tomlinson, and Elliott.
You know what? Perion has given the Browns every reason to look elsewhere.
Yes.
And you know what? Mo Hurst has done it before. And so if you're telling me I'm going to get 80% of his best season, If I could get 80%, I mean, that's all of a sudden you go from being really iffy about the defensive line to saying, hey, we're cooking with something right here. Like putting that next to Dalvin Tomlinson, I'm excited about that. That's why I love, the lottery tickets are never always going to work. You never win all the time when you play lottery, but every once in a while, and Andrew Berry, I feel like Andrew Berry's due. I'm really hoping because that could be a huge difference in this. I really feel like it could be a huge difference in the defensive line overall, and honestly in the season, because let's play worst case scenario. What if Jordan Elliott is still the same Jordan Elliott we've seen, and suddenly Perion Winfrey ends up in trouble in some way? I mean, then that's abject disaster.
Then that's a really big problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So give me somewhere in the middle, and I'll take Mo Hurst. I will. You know what? Because he's 28 years old. He's already had his birthday. He's going to be 28 all season long. I feel like he's still young enough to do it. And like you said, Jacob, 2022, he didn't have a whole lot of play. So you'd like to hope, like, this is probably, if I'm Mo Hurst, I'm thinking to myself, if I'm productive this year, I could get that contract that I've been chasing since I entered the NFL. I can't imagine you'd find a more motivated version of him.
He's definitely in a good spot, and he looks healthy.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. And what can you tell for offensive and defensive lines in minicamp? Nothing. It's you can tell if they look healthy though. Like did he move around with a limp, or is he slow, or like does he not look like the player? And in terms of like moving around and going through drills, yeah, he looks the part. He looks like he's good and he's healthy, and I hope he is, because the dude is just battled. I don't know if you haven't seen this dude's workout videos, this dude's a freaking tank. Like if he's healthy, like he's got some videos. What was he doing? He was like, what was that video? I'm going to have to see if I can find it here in a second. But he was like on the treadmill, and he had like, I think a weighted vest on, and he was going like 15 mile an hour, something stupid.
Really?
Just like, yeah, let me see if I can find it. I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay. But like, he was like, and you're like, oh, so a healthy you can do things like that. And it's such a big if, man. But like, if he can be something, this defensive tackle room, I feel a lot different about it.
I would too. And I think part of that too is, you talked about the Browns defensive ends, right? And we have not even gotten to Alex Wright, who, I know you're very high on, and you also drafted Elijah McGuire, who I'm not sure what he's going to contribute in his rookie year, but there's definitely potential there. So I feel like, especially if you're going to continue this trend of kicking some of these guys inside, like, you don't need the defensive tackles to be stellar. You just need and you know what you're going to get from Dalvin Tomlinson, because he's proven he has the track record. So if you can just get one of these guys, and I feel like I am rewinding the tapes to last year. But if you can if you can get one of these guys to be solidly productive, just average, I think you're in a great spot.
So just for fun, shits and gigs.
Yeah, let's do it.
Here is the video of Maurice Hurst at 290 pounds running 21 miles an hour. Like, okay. And I'll bring it up here real quick, because this is the video I'm talking about. Like, look at this dude. Just an absolute workout warrior, but watch him just freaking 21 mile an hour. Ugh. 290 pounds.
Just
getting it.
There's one thing I did notice from watching all those highlights is when he gets towards the quarterback, he's not one of those defensive tackles that is going to get shaken off very easily. Like, if he gets his hands on you, he's probably going to bring you down.
No, sorry. Joey just said that Perion's a fatter Travis Mitchell. And I'm just like, dude.
Man, I hope Perion figures it out, because that, like, I'll never forget, we were talking about him going in the second round, right? Like, there's obviously talent there, and he had about as, which, I mean, kudos to the Browns. The Browns have been so patient with a lot of these guys, especially the ones they've drafted. And I like that trait in them. But, man, Perrion,
he keeps giving you reasons not to give him time.
Yeah, and that saddens me because I'd love for him to work out and be great here. I would love that.
Drew talks about Sue. There is a rumor, and
Really?
they did add like someone to the staff that has a connection to him, and I can't remember. But Sue's not going to do anything till after training camp, is what I heard.
Okay.
But I could see it. And I think that's what they're waiting on. I think they want to go in and they want to look at Tristan Hill, who hasn't played a ton, but they really like from the Cowboys. They want to see if Mo Hurst is good. They want to see if Jordan Elliott and Perrion Winfrey can figure it out. And Tommy Togiai is kind of the forgotten man there. And I think if they get in there and there's an injury, because you never know with those sorts of things. It sucks because I wish they didn't exist, these guys that play their absolute heart out and, it just can end. But I think if they get there, like a guy like Matt Ioannidis or a guy like Shelby Harris or Ndamukong Suh, I think they have had conversations. And I think internally, if I was to guess, I would bet they want to see what they got.
Okay.
What we got enough to be, even if it's just serviceable, like we've talked about, like if they're like, hey, with everything else on the defense and our offense, we'll be fine. We don't have to stress about it too much. Then they probably won't do anything. You know what I mean? Like they'll be like, oh, okay, whatever. But if it's like, we got Dalvin and a bunch of dudes. Yeah. like maybe at that point you kind of do the thing. A question, where does Hopkins end up going, New England or Tennessee? I can't understand this New England thing because Bill O'Brien's there. I am shocked and flabbergasted after what went down with Bill O'Brien and DeAndre Hopkins that he would even consider it. I don't know. Like a while ago, I thought I knew, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, it's heating up that he's going to Cleveland," and then I was like, "Oh, is he going to Cleveland?" Which I never really thought he was ever going to. That we've said that on this show where I thought like, I'd be okay with it, but I don't think so. I don't know. I think he ends up in a place that's weird, like Tennessee, like where you like when he first gets released, you're like, he's not going. Like that Tennessee was not in the conversation. I think he ends up going somewhere like that. Like where it's just like, yeah, he ended up liking Tennessee. He's going to go to Tennessee. I think he goes wherever pays him the most money, and I respect the hell out of it.
You know what? There was that rumor on draft night that Tennessee was going to pull off some kind of trade with the Cardinals, and that DeAndre Hopkins was going to come to the Titans. And I was listening to Jake and them talk about the Titans and DeAndre Hopkins potentially landing there. And I know Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis might not be the sexiest options, but I feel like so number one, the Titans have the worst receiving core in football right now. It's like Treylon Burks and everybody else.
They definitely probably have the biggest need.
They have the biggest need, and people are willing to write them off and declare the AFC South to the Jaguars. The Titans have been consistently competitive. They play great defense. Mike Vrabel's a great coach. They still have Derrick Henry. So we'll see what's going on there. If they added somebody like DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, I still think they'll be right there competing for the division. They were last year. People completely forget about that. The Jaguars and Titans played right at the end of the year in a very meaningful game.
Josh Dobbs almost won that division.
Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
What a wild game in a division. Last season, man, was fun overall. Like probably not really for the Browns, but like overall, it was a really bizarre, fun, and interesting season. It was
it honestly was. I think the longer we do this, the more I in general I've always enjoyed the NFL, but it's fun to just see these other.
You're gonna talk about it. You're gonna write about it and just chit chat with people all over the world about it. It just really brings on like another level to it,
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. But
speaking of fun,
I'm gonna let you do it. So we have a new secondary logo.
We certainly do.
The floor is yours.
We certainly.
I'm gonna go see if I can find my hat.
Okay, you find your hat. Okay. Here we go. So we're doing a little screen share here because I know this might rub some people the wrong way, but here you go. From the Browns account themselves, we have a winner. And I just want to start. I want to start with actually talking about this. I think both dogs that they had presented would have been an upgrade from the current one, and I like that they're doing this because number one, it's just the Browns have all these logos because the orange helmet is the orange helmet, and I think that's fun. I think it's fun that we have all kinds of gear. Like, it's like I got Brownie the Elf right now. Now we've got this new dog. And I'll tell you why. People are very polarized on these dogs, and I can't blame you for feeling that way. But to me, I love the symbolism. You've already seen the symbol, which honestly, my tweet there is from under the Browns tweet. So we've all seen that chart. So I'm not going to bore you with all the things that are in this dog. But what I will tell you is that when I look at this dog, I feel like this is a dog that's been there before. Somebody that's been through the wars of just struggle. And that's why like the darkness really resonates with me, because I just feel like the Browns have struggled, and this is a dog that's been there, done that, and it just represents that just badassness. Like there's a little edge to it. And I think that's fun. I saw somebody responded to me the other day that they should put this dog in the dog pound end zone. And I've never liked an idea more. And I know Jacob's probably going to look at me and he's going to give me that look. But I really like that idea. I think it's fun. I think the Browns, if the Browns were coming off a winning season, people would eat up this fun stuff like never before. I'll tell you what, a really good example is the fact, remember how everybody felt about the Flying G when the Guardians put that out there? I got my hat right over there. I'm going to switch it out here while we watch the Padres game. First pitch, 9:40. Be there, be square. Coffee on brew. When the Guardians released that logo and the name in general, there was a ton of controversy about it. But then they went on to win the division, win a playoff series, be an incredibly exciting, young, up-and-coming team, and suddenly you see the G everywhere. When winning breeds that type of thing. And so I feel like this dog, and so I'm really hoping that the Browns would, because I feel like it will be embraced. I just want to I tweeted this out yesterday, and this is kind of my biggest thought on the whole thing. The Browns are allowing their fans to have a voice. When we were at training camp, they had the 4 different field options where you could have had the helmet, you could have had this brownie, you could have had that brownie. They had the end zones different. They let fans vote on that. And then they let fans not only vote on these dogs, but submit their own designs as submissions. I don't know any team that has allowed fans to have more input in stuff like this, meaningless stuff. I don't want obviously you don't want to have fans to have input on really, truly impactful decisions, but fun stuff. Let's have a little fun. The fans voted for this, and it was cool to normally these are dead days of summer, and there's not really a whole lot to talk about once minicamp ends. And like this was something that allowed us to just keep talking Browns, have some fun. So hats off from me to the Browns for allowing fans to submit logos, for allowing fans to vote on it, and I feel like that brings you closer to the team when you get to have some say in what's going on and what you're putting on your head or wearing. I love that, and so kudos to them for me. Jacob, I'm sure you'll have some interesting thoughts here, so I'd love to hear them.
I don't care. No, like it's fine. It's fine. I enjoy the symbolism. I enjoy the idea. I enjoy the 8 championships. I'm sorry. What's it? Huh? Anyway,
the 8 championships.
8 rings.
You know what? Last point on this. Last point. The Browns making this the logo and the 8 spikes representing the 8 championships has led to an entire movement on Twitter of Browns fans reclaiming their rings, their championships, and their glory. And I
almost sent Corey a message. And I was just like, because every day I wake up and dude is fighting battles with Bengals fans every damn day. And the dude is just like fearless, man. Like he has no problems. he is going out. He's like, listen, we got these rings, and now he's like photoshopping himself into the 1964 game. Like when they won the championship in '64, he like photoshopped himself into the crowd and stuff, and all that. And he's like making a smirk, and it's just like if you are bored and you just want to laugh, you can go watch it. And I respect his hustle because that dude just never quits. Every day he's got a new idea to do it. I mean, he's just arguing the same thing, but in a different way every single day. And it's like, you know what, dude? You know, like bravo.
The one day he posted the custom Bengals jersey with 0 rings, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And then today he posted the custom Browns jersey with 8 rings.
It said rings and the number was 8. Yeah.
And it's got Cincinnati and Pittsburgh Twitter uniting to try and fight against it. And it's just the strangest thing. The last thing on this, I asked today, how many wins would it take for you to get that dog tattooed on you? And Corey responded to me that he would get it tattooed on him when he could add a 9th spike for a 9th championship.
So then the dog would have like 9 spikes when he put it on there.
Yep. And there would be no bigger victory lap. So Corey, I'm hoping. Corey, if you see this, I love what you do. I'm hoping. And that's that's part of the fun too, because then you're clearing the way for if the Browns really do have success, that you get to update your dog, and people will love. Like, imagine the Browns win a Super Bowl, and then the Browns Twitter posts the dog with the 9th spike. People will eat it up like they've never eaten anything before. I like this stuff. I can't help it. It's the balance of the yin and the yang of this show, and I love it. So that's all.
I have no problem with it. Like, I don't hate it. Like, some people hate it. Like some people got angry, and I'm just like, I don't care. Like I didn't vote just because like I didn't have an opinion on it. And some people are like, I'm not buying any of that merchandise. It's like, then don't.
Yeah.
Like who cares? What? Why do you need to go poop on other people's parades? Oh, Joey Edibles signing off. Joey, appreciate you guys.
Hey, Joey,
appreciate you for coming out tonight.
You don't want the dog. You got this elf. You got the charging elf. You got the orange helmet. You got every logo you could ever want. The Browns got you.
Yeah, I don't get that side of it either, because like I'm like so ultimately like Switzerland in this situation where I'm just like, I'm neutral. I don't care. I didn't think we needed one is really what mine was, because I liked what we had. I
did like the original orange dog was
the grumpy dog. I always called him Grumpy Dog. He was he looked like he was watching the Browns play football is what it was.
I think we needed to go from Grumpy Dog to Angry Dog because of what we've seen since 1999 when Grumpy Dog was
well. Yeah. Drew did make it. Drew said, "Just make your own logo and wear it," because he did. It is. It's fantastic, actually.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm about that, Drew.
Yeah, but like it's just I don't know. It's funny. Yeah. I don't know why people got to get so like people take things so serious, and and I want to show you guys something.
I'm just gonna, while Jacob shows us this, if you really want to go down a rabbit hole, Jacob had a hilarious response to someone that got particularly upset at me because I enjoyed a logo.
Hey, did you know what that word he called you meant? This SPED? Yeah. I had no idea what that meant. Yeah. Like, I just read the other stuff that he said, and I was like, wow, you're like a really bad person and stuff. But like I kept seeing people talk about what he called you, and I was like, I started to realize like maybe it meant something. You know what I mean? Like it went right over my head. And then I figured out what it meant. And then I was like, oh, I'm really glad that I posted that. So I'm not going to show what the guy said, but he was really particularly a bad person. And so I posted this video. Son of a bitch. I need you to thank you. No.
We're having all the fun on episode 1.
Oh my God.
So
if I do this, okay. So I have a video for all of you. If you are like, man, this guy said something really stupid on Twitter, or they're really mean to you, the guy couldn't even clap back when I did this. And,
Nope.
I've been waiting. I've had this in my back pocket for months. Couldn't find the right use of it. I finally found the right use of it. So I present to you the ultimate anti-troll device.
Congratulations. That was one of the stupidest things that I've ever seen anybody post on the internet before. Congratulations. The bar is high because people post lots and lots of stupid things, but your stupid thing was somehow the leader of the pack.
And that is from your pal Austin. It's your pal _ Austin on TikTok. He's great. He's really hilarious. If you want to check out more of his stuff over there,
it's truly a shame. So people don't often challenge Jacob, but for those behind the scenes, Jacob had a couple more ready to roll if this guy had wanted to.
I did. I was so utterly disappointed that I didn't get to. I had what he didn't respond to me at all. Like somebody else did, but like I just saw it today that somebody else did. But I was like ready. I have this particularly funny picture of a shark, and that shark has human teeth. So just the upper row of human teeth. He's like this. Looks like he's got dentures in. It's certainly the longer you look at it, the more you want to be like, and like do like a goofy lap or something. It's something like that. We've devolved. We gotta get the hell out of here.
All right, so I'm gonna leave you on you mentioning Goofy. The Goofy movie from about 2001 ish, somewhere in there, is one of the best movies. And if you haven't seen it, you should.
Very goofy movie.
This has been episode 106 of the Barking Brown Show. Thank you to everybody for being here. I'm Nick. He's Jacob. Oh, he's Jacob. Wow.
Shit,
he's Jacob.
Who knows? Yeah, like go Browns. I really like this new ice cream. It's mermaid flavor.